Start recording. Okay, thank you, Carolyn, and you are a co-host. Welcome everybody to one of our programs that we call our mutual support sessions. These are facilitated discussion sessions where your contributions are really important. Some of you may have attended the session that we had last month on volunteers, and we certainly hope you'll attend our next session on April 3rd, which is on sponsorship revenue for villages. And so today we're going to talk about multi-generational villages. Abby Sims, who is co-founder and president of North Chevy Chase Connections, is going to facilitate the discussion. She'll open with some comments and to help frame the topic about how their village is approaching things. But I can't say too strongly that you are very important, and your experiences and ideas, either because you've tried some multi-generational activities or you have questions about how to do it. We really want this to be a very participatory session. And with your input, we'll look at the challenges and maybe some best practices related to creating and maintaining and growing a multi-generational village. So take it away, Abby.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks, Mary Jo, for asking us to come in. I did want to introduce, I do see that I have my co-founder and vice president, Mary Margaret Patterson, is in this meeting as well. And board member, I think I saw Susan Shalkowski. So I am going to be, I'm going to be at, we all of us have been actively involved basically since the beginning, and I'm hoping that they will jump in and answer questions and share our experiences as well. So as Mary Jo said, I am co-founder and president of North Chevy Chase Connections, which is actually in Chevy Chase, not in Bethesda. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary in January of launching operations, and we had an incredible party. We've partnered with Bizzuto, which is a developer in the neighborhood, and they permitted us, they shared their incredible, elegant rooftop of one of their luxury buildings, similar to a very fancy hotel. And we had 100 people come and celebrate, and it was multi-generational. What we have found, and this is one of our I guess, bits of wisdom that we can share with you all. When you have social events like we prior to the pandemic, we had spring flings, spring socials that we partnered with Wood End, the Nature Forward, which used to be the Audubon Society, to have events there. That's when we tend to get a lot of younger adults. We also have a kids and family group that is intermittently active. We have some standard events each year that include the kids and family group and the families in the neighborhood. One is a huge Halloween celebration, which brings out all ages, but mostly focused on young families with younger children. And it's a block party and parade, and we have hundreds of people come. I'm talking like 300 people show up for this thing. We also have a concert that we do on the grounds of the local church in our area. We've been doing that for a number of years, where we have local musicians come, and we have either an Italian ice a truck come, or some kind of a treat that comes, to arrange to have some kind of a food and drink at this place. And we also have over 100 people come, including many young families and older. So what we have found from our experience, and we also have specifically for young families, we have a pumpkin decorating in an outdoor space every October that brings in families, and we purchase small pumpkins, and we do not charge for these events. So we are an all volunteer. I should probably start with that. We are an all volunteer village. We charge $50 per year per household, $100 if you want to be a sustaining member. And we are very careful with our money. So we have a nice reserve fund. We also have an incredibly generous neighbor who, when we started out, she has a small family foundation, and was so excited about the successes that we've had in the neighborhood that she donated some money. And so we're in a very fortunate position. We know that we are financially sustainable at this point. Of course, if we have to hire even a part-time person, that all goes out the window. We're going to have to raise more money, go through the grant procedures. But for right now, I have to tell you, and I do want to welcome another board member, Marie McKeon has come on. And again, Marie, as I've said with Susan and Mary Margaret, you're the experts as well, and we can share our experiences. But I know I'm a little all over the place, but basically I would say that it is not an easy task to get younger families involved. You really have to constantly be reaching out. But as I will continue to say, that it seems to me that that the younger neighbors are more interested in the social events. We do have programming generally on a monthly basis on Zoom. Since the pandemic, we have speakers. We just had mindful eating on Zoom this past month. We're having a landscape person working in conjunction with our gardening interest group, who's going to be speaking next month. And I think if you can find topics that tend to go across the generations, as opposed to only focusing on senior related topics, you have to make the younger neighbors in the neighborhood feel that they have a place in the organization. I even am careful. I try not to post a lot of only senior related events on our listserv. We created the first listserv for the neighborhood. So that has been probably one of the most important tools that we're using to connect people in the neighborhood. And we have, I think, over 300 people on that listserv, 300 emails. And we also send out these monthly digests, and that's close to 700 emails that we send that to. So we are trying to connect with people, with all generations in the neighborhood. And again, we are multi-generational. And I started out, we were having a conversation before about what's the difference between intergenerational and multi-generational. And I would say that you have to be multi-generational in order to become intergenerational. So there's no way that you're going to develop the connections, and that's our name, North Chevy Chase Connections, with all different peer groups in your neighborhood if you won't get them to become connected to each other and become intergenerational, truly wanting to do the same kind of activities and making these friendships without being multi-generational first. So we did start out, as I said, we launched 5 years ago, but we probably started organizing over 7 years ago. And we sent out a survey to the neighbor. We got a huge response, unusual response. And people were mostly interested in social events of all of all ages. And we've paid attention to that. We really thought it was going to be the services. And while we do have an MOU with Village Rides, we're having a hard time getting people to make the requests for rides and for services. So, we are still pushing that program strongly. And we do have volunteer drivers who are background checked and vetted. but those aren't that is not the entrance into the village that we thought it would be, that people would be wanting these services, and it would be this very robust service-oriented organization. In fact, we've really we should have listened to the survey, because in fact what people want are these social events, which is what we're doing. But that is not to say that we don't always also provide services in other ways. For example, Maria's taking the lead on trying to create a neighborhood watch. People are concerned about rising crime in the neighborhood, and we do have a multi-generational response for people wanting to create this neighborhood watch. Our believe it or not, the stumbling block is the police. They don't have a training officer. And I think people have seen that they're really down on officers, and we've been trying to get them to come. You can't have a neighborhood watch program until you get trained by a training officer. They don't have a training officer, so we haven't been able to do this neighborhood watch program. So I know I'm talking a lot. Does anyone have any questions before I keep giving you, experiences that we've got? If not, I'll keep talking. Yes, Trish.
So I have a question. You said intergenerational. Do you have anybody on the very, very young side, a young adult perhaps, who serves on your board or takes on any kind of leadership in your sort of the organizational chart?
Not a young adult. I would say that if most villages are seniors, I would say that our young neighbors are women who are married, with mostly women. I mean, there are some men, but mostly women who have young families. School age, elementary school age is probably the youngest group, and they have a lot on their plates. And our feeling when we started this village was that the young families need as much support in a different way. If everyone would mute if you're not speaking, that would be helpful. So the younger families, we really, when we started out, we thought we could create a child care co-op. And because I know that when I had young children, I would have loved to be able, if I got the call, you're there's no childcare today, but I have to go to work. Wouldn't it be nice if I had a childcare co-op with families who had moms who were staying home, who could step in, and then I could help out in other ways. But the interesting thing was they were all real hesitant. They did not want to do that because they didn't really know each other. So we realized that we had to create the relationships first. And when I've raised the subject since, people are hesitant to do it unless it's already established. So that didn't work. But these mostly young women, but it is young families, have come to happy hours at the local brewery, Baby Cat. And in a way, that space is a very good space because you can bring children to that space and they run around. I am hearing some background noise. I'm not sure who it is, but please mute yourself. So they come to have a drink. We offer all members. One way we encourage people to come is you get one free drink if you're a member. It helps with membership as well. And they bring their kids, and the kids run around and they watch the trains, and that's been really nice interacting. Plus, a number of these young women who are staying home with young children come to our lunch bunch every month. And so it's kind of interesting. They've created friendships, with the seniors who come for the lunch bunch. And we usually get I think on average, about 15 people coming for lunch at various restaurants in the area. So I'm not sure, did that answer your question? And now we do have not really young women in leadership positions or men. But as to the kids and family group, that's where they take the lead. And it does take a certain amount of my contacting them and prodding them. Well, would you like to schedule, a play date in a local, like Nature Forward just opened up a fabulous new playground. Would you like to organize, and we'll provide the snacks, the drinks, and the food. Or one of the young families decided they wanted to get into cleaning up the parks. So we've had a number of events where we invite, let's go to this park. We're going to provide Montgomery County provided trash bags and vests and gloves, and we'll have contests, for who collects the most garbage, who collects the smelliest garbage, the most usual garbage. And so we've done that several times, but we find that if we do something more than a few times, then they lose interest. So we have to come up with something new again. So
they're more event-based leaders rather than, serving on a board and making policy and okay. That's helpful.
But we are trying to get them to take greater leadership positions. But the way to start it really is to get them onto committees. For example, whenever we have an event, we have a table where people check in, even if don't have to pay for it. And we have a sheet about volunteer opportunities, and we personally solicit them, is there something you would like to be interested in? So we have gotten a number of new volunteers that way who want to, let's say, plan a program. And I find even, in my other volunteer work, that's often the way to get someone involved in the leadership, have them take on a responsibility for the event and then move them up into more of a policy-making position. I see that Leanne has her name. Leanne, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I have a sort of follow-on question. Do you have young people, and by that I mean not only young adults, but teens that volunteer in any way?
Yes, we do. We have the SSL program for county schools where the teens have to get a certain amount of service hours in order to graduate. So it often turns out that it is the children of people who are involved in the village who then help us with the Halloween parade and block party, or who help us with the pumpkin decorating, or who help us organize something else. So yes, we provide that kind of support. We had wanted to get the teens to do perhaps more service-oriented activities, technology, etc. But the problem, Montgomery County Schools has very, very strict rules about it. They cannot go into people's homes. They have to be supervised by an adult. So it's really only been getting the teens involved when we have, let's say, outdoor activity, and there are going to be adults there. So that's kind of what that's about. Karen, I see your hand is up.
Yes, my hand is up, but a workman has just come. So if I can get back to you and just ask you a question about
Sure,
leadership.
absolutely.
Face in line.
Okay. Nikita, you're next.
Yes, I wanted to pick your brain on some of your recruitment strategies to get volunteers to be more active in this village.
I think they probably came up with really good ones at the last session. That isn't the focus of this, but basically it is the personal touch. I mean, we also never let an opportunity go by. We have an event where we don't ask for volunteers, and we try to make it more specific. Would you like to help plan a program? Do you have an idea for an interest group that's something that you're interested in that you would like to share? I mean, we just recently started something. People had come to us and said, we'd really like to learn Mahjong. I mean, you wouldn't think that that would necessarily be something that would be interest, but we put it out in our digest. Does anyone want to learn how to play or want to create a neighborhood group, group so that it's easy to play? And we had over 20 people say they were interested. So just this past month, for the first time, we held a session with teaching Mahjong. And I think there were about 15 people who attended. And we asked, would you like to, I think they have to learn something about the organization. They have to come to a few things. And if you see that someone has attended a number of events, then you can go over to them and specifically ask. We find that if you make the general requests, you tend not to get, we have been lucky. Our communications person responded to a posting on a school listserv that one of our board members had put, and said, yeah, I'm really looking to get involved in volunteer. And she's fabulous. I mean, she's doing our website. She works full time. She's doing our website. She handles all our communication. But I think the key with volunteering is, I'm always talking a village. I carry these brochures around. I don't know. It's probably blurred. Let me see if I can unblur my. Does this show it all now?
No.
Hold on, let me blur my
If you have
background.
something that you'd like us to share later, if you have that if you have the
So
PDF.
this is
file
a
for that.
pure marketing thing, and
Mhm.
it's a brochure that we got from that we worked on with Village Rides. They paid for it.
Mhm.
And we also send out this we have sent out and we shared this welcome to the neighborhood as part of a welcome wagon bag program, where we try to, it's been effective at some times and not at others. Right now, we're looking for a new volunteer to handle it, but this is kind of and it's got a QR code because we want to show that we are not, that we may be seniors, but we are somewhat technologically savvy. So I'm always, when I walk around the neighborhood, I always have these brochures in my pocket, and I say, do you know about North Chevy Chase Connections? Welcome to the neighborhood. Or if you're here for a while, do you know about us? Would you be interested? We have this coming up. And people are very happy to hear about it, but it is an uphill battle. I don't want to suggest that it's easy to do, but if you are constantly soliciting, you're going to eventually get someone. Karen still has her hand up. Mary Jo.
I just wanted to reinforce a couple of things. First of all, if you go to the WAVE website, you'll find the recording of the session that we had on volunteers. You click under WAVE programs, and then you go down and you'll see archive of WAVE events, and you can listen to the session that we had just last month. So please do that. And otherwise, I just want to reinforce what she said, that it's usually very hard to, it is always better to try and tap into people on a very personal basis and get them to volunteer for something that they like. They feel good about it. They like the connection. They're making a real contribution in a way that they can. So it's not as systematic as you might like sometimes, but it does make the actual connections, which are going to be so important later. And so I'll put my hand down because Karen is back.
Right. And then once after Karen, if Marie Brodsky is still on, I can't, you might be on the second page. I did want to just let her say, give a little bit of an advertisement and say a few words about what she's doing to try to encourage intergenerational activities. So Karen.
Thank you, and I apologize. I had one question about whether you ever organize the younger people into their own group. I know some villages have men's groups, and we are just seeing if we can launch one of those. But we got a lot of new members last year, and they were younger, and I think some did it to support the people that they knew that were their neighbors, but some where we are looking for ways that we can do things that are of interest to them. And though the whole point of intergenerational is the exchange, sometimes it's really nice to have interest groups. So I wondered if you did that. And my second was just an example of a very successful intergenerational event we did last summer, which we have a garden that we maintain with another neighborhood association. And we did a summer fun in the garden. And we brought in, we closed down the street, we had water play, sprinklers, wading pools, art projects, nature projects. And I mean, there were probably 75 people there. It was, I think, a Sunday or Saturday afternoon. Lots of fathers because it was a weekend. So and they all had a ball. I've never seen so many, and the sort of core of our members were really serving them. We'd helped organize the art projects and the nature projects, but that was, I think, our most successful one, although it was a lot of work. And one of the young parents said, we should do this every week, which made me think they didn't quite know what went into it, but we will do it again this year. But I really wonder whether you ever got them into interest groups and whether that worked, like young moms groups or that kind of thing.
Yeah, we haven't done that. The closest I would say is the kids and family group. And that has, again, kind of ebbed and flowed depending upon whether or not there's a young person willing to take the lead. I'm always willing to work with them, but someone has to actually take the lead. I can't take the whole thing on myself, nor can another board member. And that's the pumpkin decorating, the park cleaning, the playground. We did, prior to the pandemic, we would rent a room at the local church and have potluck dinner with games. And that was one where we had the teens come and play with the younger children. And that was very successful. And we might try to do that again. We're only just really beginning to get back into in-person events inside, but to go back to that luck, and we provide a major amount of the food and all. But I like your idea. We have a pool in the neighborhood, a neighborhood pool. And in the past, we have arranged for pool party where pizza and pool, where we invite everyone in the neighborhood to come, but mostly focus on the kids and have pool games. But part of the problem in our neighborhood is so many people already belong to the pool that coming to the pool for this is not like a special thing. Do you have a pool in your neighborhood, Karen? Is that why? No, and that's why your event with water in the summer was so great. I'm not sure it would work. It's a great idea. I'm not sure how well it would work in our neighborhood because the pool is really the water attraction in our neighborhood.
Right, and the sprinklers were the water attraction for us.
Right.
Them.
Right.
I would just say one lovely scene was at the bottom of the small little hill near the garden, which was the water side. A man in his wheelchair was just sitting with a friend of his at the bottom, watching the kids play and with a giant smile on his face. So it really was this wonderful event. And I would say the other good thing we could do was make connections, because we actually knew a lot of the people there because we're longtime residents. And so we could connect some of the young people. I mean, I found myself saying, you need to meet, Shirley, because she has a daughter your age. She's over there. Let me introduce you. That kind of, or there is actually a moms group that the group of young moms did. And I was able to say to someone on my block, oh, there's a moms group. There is. Well, let me introduce you. So, our job is to make a more cohesive, warm, inviting, welcoming neighborhood. And it's very nice to remind the young people that we old people can do that really well. We don't just need the services, which is often what they do.
Karen, what village are you with?
I'm so sorry. I'm Kate Smith is our director. She's online, and I'm with Bradley Hills Village, and I am the new president for this little
Well,
town.
welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, Sophia.
Hi, my name's Sophia. I'm with Capitol Hill Village in Washington, D.C. This has been a fantastic conversation. The question I have, and that's kind of been alluded to a bit already, is I wanted to know, Abby, if you could talk a little bit more about kind of like the balance that you all have as being like, I wouldn't say like a fully traditional village, but still doing everything a village does, and then also having this component where you're multi-generational and intergenerational, and like how has that been working? And it sounds like a lot of things are done by members and community members who are interested, so that makes up for it. But I just wanted to see if you could share anything about what's been working, what hasn't been working, what's challenging, stuff like that.
Well, in my view, what's the thing is if someone comes to me and says, I want to do X, and we just provide the support, the communication tools. We have budget for them, and so for example, the lunch bunch, that has probably been our longest standing successful event, and I have nothing to do with it. It is so wonderful because basically we're all volunteer, and I'm acting pretty much as the executive director of this organization. And I think now that we've been in operation for so long, it's not as overwhelming for me as it used to be. I mean, a lot of things are happening as people are taking on the responsibilities. So the person who's been in charge of the lunch bunch since the beginning, she and has a wonderful time. She goes out with friends, they pick a restaurant, then she just lets everybody know, and I just put it in digest. And we send it out. And she also emails everyone. It is a constant balance between, how much time people are willing to give, and so we try to do things that, and also, cost is a factor. We do charge very little, and while we do have a nice amount in our bank account, we recognize that we may need that money for other things. So if we can work with local businesses, for example, there's a new in this development, there's a wine shop called Uncorked. So during the winter, instead of doing Baby Cat, we had a happy hour in conjunction with one of their tastings, so that and they said we could bring in food. So we had about 20 people come to have a happy hour. And I'm not sure if I'm exactly answering your question, but it's a push and pull. It's great if you can find volunteers who are willing to take it on. If someone says, yes, I would like to start a new interest group, we are eager to let them. For example, we have this very active group, and one of the younger members said, well, I want to have a gardening group online. I forget exactly what he called it, but it's so worked with our communications person, and they have created their own listserv. They also use our listserv, but this is just for gardening posts. And it's younger gardeners and older gardeners. They have multiple events during the year, including plant exchanges and other things. So, I think if you can find interests that spread over the generations, like gardening, like going to lunch, then you're going to be able to create these friendships.
Abby, can I
Yeah.
just can I just tell you? I think the word you're looking
Yes,
for.
Susan Shalkowski is one of our board members and a treasurer.
The word you're
Go
looking
on,
for is blog. I think you're looking for the word
Oh,
blog.
right, the blog, right.
But Ann Gonzalez has joined the Zoom, so you might let her speak to the gardening group a little bit.
Oh, okay. And if you add about the gardening group and why it's really functioning well to bring in different, multi-generations of people.
Am I mute, or can you hear me?
No, you're on. You're on. I
Okay.
can hear you.
No, I really don't have anything to add to what Abby has added. It was something that has started, and it keeps expanding, and new people join. We now have about 50 members in the gardening group. There is a difference because the younger people know a lot about technology, so they have implemented this blog, and I'm still sending out stuff via emails. But anyway, it is something that speaks to all generations. And I've also started an interest group for aging. So again, as Abby has said, it is you can start anything that you have an interest in, and the village supports it. So
Right. And, I did want to take 1 minute aside because I see Marie Brodsky's on. Marie, I wanted to give you just a few minutes to tell people about Wise City and to invite them. I saw you put something in the chat. Everyone should check that out. Marie came to our board and gave a wonderful presentation. I would recommend her coming to each of your boards to talk about what she and her group are doing. But why don't you give us like your elevator speech?
Thank you so much, Abby. I appreciate that. I think I've met many of you before in various contexts. So it's very nice to see you all again. Yeah, I'm a student at UMD at the University of Maryland, and also one of the founders of Wise Cities, which is a student startup, and we're aiming to connect older adults to their communities. So both to resources that may be helpful for aging in place and to social opportunities. And maybe when we've interacted before, I have focused on the online platform that we're developing that's meant to be very easy to use and for people to find very local services and social opportunities. But something that I wanted to highlight is something new that we're working on, which is a set of Wise spaces in which we're partnering with local venues like cafes, like bookstores, like art studios, board game places, all kinds of like little local businesses that have space open during the day to welcome in groups of older adults to come in and have an opportunity for social connection in a community space that isn't necessarily a senior center. And we're aiming to make some of these intergenerational too. So we have our first set of these Wise Spaces events happening next week, and they'll be happening throughout March. So I'd love to share that opportunity with your members, anyone who wants to come in and get to know some others in the community that they maybe haven't met through your individual village yet. And the other thing that I had mentioned in the chat is that I created a curriculum and I'm helping teach a class at the University of Maryland that's for about 80 students here. And it's entirely focused on the topic of intergenerational connection and how we can adapt our communities to actually be more conducive to intergenerational connection happening, and like what kind of ideas we can brainstorm. So they're spending the whole semester thinking about that theme. So that's something I'm happy to talk more about later. And I'm very curious what they come up with because they've been doing all kinds of interviews and thinking in that direction. Yeah, thanks so much for giving me the time to share a little bit about that. I can put my email in the chat if anyone wants to talk about any of those, or if you want me to share the info about the Wise Spaces social events that are coming up.
Please put your information in the chat for us. I think that would be terrific. Thanks, Marie. That would be great.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out that we did have a question in the chat that maybe we should call. Chelsea, are you still on? She was saying, what types of tools and methods are you using for polling to get feedback on the types of events that people are interested in? Do you use any polling, or is it just personal outreach? How do you find out what people are interested in helping with?
We really just use personal outreach at this point. I mean, we talked about doing additional surveys, but, again, I'll have to say, we're all volunteer and we're doing the best we can. We do, I would say it's mostly personal solicitation. Sometimes people will come to us with ideas like the Mahjong. I mean, that was presented to us, and there seems to be a lot of interest. As a matter of fact, we've decided, since it was well attended and people were so interested, we're going to do it again month, to have this group and open it up to whoever wants to come. Okay. Seal. Wait, Mary Margaret, go ahead.
I was
I'm sorry.
just going to say, some of our groups are very small and a sort of ad hoc, but during the summer, my husband, who's an avid golfer, he just thought it would be nice to have a small group. So there is a small monthly group that meets at a public course near here, and that has been sort of multi-generational. It has attracted people that we don't get in any other event.
And yeah, that is interesting, actually, that there are some people who only do the lunch bunch. We'll never see them any other place. Other people who only come to the happy hour. That's what they want to do.
And
Other
there,
people who only do the Halloween stuff.
yeah, there was one mother
So,
brought her adult son, who's a fairly young person. I think he might be 35, and they have come to play together. So that's very interesting.
right. Okay, next question. I don't know, Mary Jo, you're next in line.
I only wanted to put one other example out, and it's again where someone took the initiative themselves. There's a family that has organized what they call the Front Yard Fridays. And they have people sign up in advance, and a Front Yard Friday is the person who's going to host it for that Friday. And it's for families with kids. We have a fairly quiet neighborhood, but they would maybe be responsible for only putting out a card table or two, a few refreshments, but it's known to, it's expected that it'll be a little bit potluck. You bring your own, and it's just an opportunity for families with school-age kids, mostly elementary school-age kids, to get together on a Friday night, between 4 and 6 or 5 and 7. And that's been really quite successful.
Great. Okay, Seal.
So Abby, my question has to do with the mechanics of operating and communicating. And this listserv that you have, forgive me, it is a neighborhood listserv and not the NCCC listserv per se, but you are an admin person on the listserv, or is it just an open where anybody in the neighborhood can post, right? One of the
It is the North Chevy Chase Connections listserv.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. Are you
And we have a moderator.
You have a
who
moderator.
handles-
Okay.
Right. And what we have is, and feel free to check out our website. It's North Chevy Chase Connections.
I was
.org.
trying to do that, and I saw this Christian church thing. I kept bumping into another NCCC. Anyway, I will do that. Thank you. So let's use the Mahjong interest inquiry as a great example. I think it's a great example. Someone came to you with the idea, and you said, would you be willing to train, because a lot of people don't know how to play Mahjong, it's complicated, whatever. And you put something out that says this time at this date, or contact me if you're interested. I'll keep a list, and then I just want to follow that.
Okay, so logistically, I mean, this is where we are so grateful that we have our communications person, Rebecca, because I just give her the content. I say, okay, we are this month, and we started interest probably towards the end of last year, maybe in November, because we wanted to see if there was any interest first. Why bother even scheduling something? Because it does cost us, we have to pay $75 to rent the room at the church. So it was just, are you interested in learning to play or playing American Mahjong in the neighborhood? With a little bit of explanation, you want to look, this is the website for the National Mahjong League. New cards don't come out until April, but we are thinking about scheduling an event. And if you are interested, register here. So then there's a registration form that people fill out with their name, phone number, address, and the list is, we have a Wix account, a premium
Abby?
Wix account.
Abby,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think
Yeah.
you need to differentiate, just for clarity, with regard to communications, between the listserv and the communications that we do through Wix, because they're two different things. And I think Seal, is that how you say it? Was asking about the technology or the logistics about how you communicate. And we're not doing all of our communications through the listserv. The listserv serves a very specific function. We have a whole other communication system, which Rebecca oversees and which Rebecca created for us, which is using Wix and we have a very large email list on that, because people don't have to be members of the village in order to get on our email list. They can just be, they have to live within our boundaries, but they don't have to be paid members. And then we have this extensive email list, which is linked to our to this Wix membership database, if you will. Sorry, not membership database, but email database. And it also controls our membership. It houses our website. I mean, it does a lot of stuff. But all this communication that Abby's talking about is not done through our moderated listserv. It's done through this Wix communication system that goes out to everybody. And it also sends people invitations to events where they have to RSVP. It also, let me just, to make this easier, most of you are probably familiar with the Healthful Village or the, what's the one called? Club Express or whatever it's now called. So we have not migrated to those platforms yet. We wanted to try and find a way to do it, which was less expensive, that we would have, control over. Now, granted, it doesn't do everything that the Helpful Village say does, but for our purposes, it does enough. And that's what we use to really communicate with people and to monitor and control all of the events and activities and things that we put out there. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thanks very much. Appreciate that. Thanks for spending time on the topic.
Okay, if anyone has any more questions, I did put my email and our website link in the chat. Beth.
Hi, I'm from
Hi.
Glover Park Village in Washington, D.C. We're an all-volunteer village. We're in our 11th year. After COVID, when I first became active in the village, we tried to get a intergenerational program started, and we started with our elementary school. We have a wonderful school in our neighborhood, but I just want people to know, don't give up too soon. It took us about 2 years before the PTO organization kind of, realized that there was something we could do. They were all so busy trying to get back to normal after COVID. It took about 2 years. And our first big gift was when a mom in the neighborhood offered to work with us to do some kind of simple gift exchange. And the idea was Valentine's home visits. We had about 15 families sign up to do that, and easily 15 of our members responded to our email, and they arranged between themselves home visits, and kids brought Valentines and candy to some of our members at home. It was really successful, and this year everybody looked forward to doing it again. But it took a while to do that. The other home visit that this family group helped us arrange is delivering bouquets on Earth Day. The kids come and get flowers from the village. We set it up so they could come and get recycled jars and flowers and ribbons and things. And then they made their own home deliveries to members. So I think that generated a lot of goodwill. And then the rest of the year, we're trying to do something every quarter. We've had a summer pen pal exchange that sort of runs on its own or doesn't, but a back to school party has been a really good social event. And someone's comment about having sprinklers in a water event and a food truck gave me an idea for what we should do this year in September. We did of all things, we did a cemetery tour of our local cemetery on Veterans Day, and we had 50 people sign up, including kids and families. And we try to get them involved in some holiday events with us, but that group has really helped. And now the PTO organization is getting somewhat involved. That's just with the elementary school. I mean, we hope to get to where we have contacts with the high school so that we could begin to get teens involved in helping with our events and setups and participate that way. But, it takes a while. And the schools have so many restrictions on who can visit. We envisioned being able to come into the school and share, reading and things like that. You have to have a TB test and a background check to get into school, except if it's a public event. So those kinds of things are not happening. It's more after school and weekends. And it has led to a couple of those parents beginning to volunteer with the village for services they can offer. And it's just a slow process, but it's great to see them getting involved, and we're trying to reach other generations as well, and especially through events. So just takes a while.
Great, thank you. Lovely ideas. We've also tried to reach out to our elementary school. One of our board members has done a lot of work on that, and it's been difficult. So I will listen to your message and tell her don't give up. We offered, and what we did do was they have a food pantry, and they needed food for the pantry, and we made a donation for that. We also we're very into developing partnerships with organizations within our boundaries. There is a rehab center, and during the pandemic, we reached out to them and we did a collection of electronics for their patients, and also brought in, because the staff was so overworked, food at various times for the different shifts for the staff. But again, it was like pulling teeth. I mean, truly, it was so hard to get them to respond to us and to and we were just wanted to help. So it hasn't been ongoing because it is just, it's all on us, and we can only, but it's probably something that we should follow up on. So Trish, you're next.
Yeah, so this is, I've always found Abby and North Chevy Chase Connection to be a wonderful inspiration. I sort of am involved in all of the emerging City of Rockville villages, and almost all are multi and intergenerational. So this has been wonderful and just really impressed, and I learned so much. In terms of the school, it was such a big coup, and Katie Ostrowski, who is on this call as well, helped. It took forever, but we finally got in touch with 2 of the 3 Rockville High School music directors. And the hope was to put together a community concert with the 2 jazz bands or jazz ensembles. Well, we have 3 high schools, but only 2 were available, and it's actually going to happen. And so I was able to book our small theater, and it's April 7th, and we're hoping to sell it out. It's a way to bring in the kids and their parents. And, these are all mostly 99% Rockville residents. So there's a village in almost every neighborhood, and it's absolutely a recruitment, but it also brings together, Abby, what you were talking about, these community concerts. It is a lot of logistical work, and I have the benefit, I will own the fact that I have resources, financial and others, like I'm getting the theater for very low cost, and I'm getting these other kind of supports that a small village may not be able to. But it took a really long time, to Beth's point, to get in touch with these teachers. They're busy, 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 and they don't know, a village member from Adam. So Katie and I, we rocked it, and it's April 7th at 3:00 at the Rockville F. Scott Fitzgerald Theater. So I'll plug that. But also, in each of the village, not all of them, but many of the villages try and have a kid component. For example, Suds and Seeds, it's a seed exchange. So and they're going to have terracotta pots and soil, and the kids can plant seeds and have root beer and ginger ale. The parents are going to be on the other side of the room, and they're going to bring in a couple cans or bottles of local beer, so that each other can taste different beers and snacks and things like that, and also exchange seeds. So each of we try and put a lens on the activities that just automatically involve kids. They had a doggy parade, a costume parade, and boy, kids of all ages loved that. People love their dogs. Anyway, I could go on and on because I have a bird's eye view of a lot of things going on, but North Chevy Chase Connections, Abby, and I don't know your other leadership who are on the call, but I do see you at every village, every Montgomery County village event. And I've always been really, really impressed with your approach to things. So that's my 2 cents.
you. And it really does take a village. I do want to make that very clear. I have a wonderful, wonderful board, and a number of them, Anne, Marie, and Mary Margaret and Susan are on here. So all of the kudos go to them. Arkia.
Yes. Hi, I just wanted to make a comment. I am in the Baltimore County area and I'm starting a village in the Turner Station area. And I'm also the Girl Scout troop leader in the neighborhood. So that might be another avenue to reach youth, is to go through your local Girl Scout or Boy Scout troop. I do a lot of intergenerational activities like bingo with the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts. We have done cooking with the seniors. We're going to be doing yoga in the park in the spring, where the kids are going to be on a mat and the seniors are going to be on a chair doing yoga with us. So, you know, that might be another way to bring in children. So thank you.
I love that idea. I'm a yoga person. That sounds great. I like that. Hey guys, we're going to talk about that next board meeting. Okay. Karen.
You're on mute, Karen. Karen, you're on mute.
This is like a mini version of Trish's with the high schools, and easier and not as difficult. We do a public forum where every year, in which we also hold our annual meeting by our bylaws. And we have, for the last 2 years, coordinated with the elementary school smack in the middle of our village and asked their 5th grade chorus to sing. And that was not a lot of work on my part. We already had rented the place. It just added to the program. It also got the parents into the event, because the parents and grandparents, a lot of them came to watch their children and grandchildren sing. Now, they didn't stay for the whole meeting, so, you know, we enticed them out of the room with chocolate chip cookies and a treat bag at the other end. But it was delightful. And so that's another thing. If you're doing an event, if you're already doing your annual event, that worked really well for us.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions right now?
We're coming up to the top of the hour.
Right. Does anyone
else?
else have a burning issue they want to raise? Otherwise, I do want to thank you all for coming, and I do want to remind you my email at North Chevy Chase Connections, ncconnections.org is on the chat, as well as check out. I know our website. I'm sorry, Paula, did you raise your hand?
Now, I put a
No.
question in the chat.
Oh.
Maybe I didn't send it properly, but
Okay, what is it?
well, here's my question. This is not from experience. This is from a conversation. If you're involved in a traditional model village, has anybody ever experienced any kind of resistance from any members in terms of being concerned about or fearful of redirecting activities and focus and resources to other generations? That you know, they may be concerned, well, we're already on such a tight budget, or we already have, you know, we struggle to have volunteers to cover things. If you're going to start involving services to younger generations, what is that going to do to our traditional village model, which is serving seniors? Has anybody experienced any of that? It sounded like not.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
No, I mean, and here is the approach. When we first started out, we had 2 different villages come, one that was a traditional senior and one that was multi-generational. Miriam Kelty, actually one of the women who came in and made the presentation. And the decision of the village was that we didn't want to be limited to just seniors, because we felt that it's not sustainable. And you know, maybe that's, we wanted to make sure that we volunteers, and we weren't sure that if we were just a senior village that we would age out, you know, and I guess new seniors could come in. And I know villages are having that issue. That wasn't the main reason. I think the main reason was we live in a very heterogeneous neighborhood in many ways, racially, religiously, age-wise, and we wanted to reflect the village that we live in. And again, because all age groups need need the connections and need the services and need the help and need the social programming. So really was the focus of, and I am always the voice at all of these village meetings that say, you know, keep us in mind. The villages are not just senior only. The villages are, I think more and more villages are recognizing that it's a wonderful experience to have multiple generations involved in the village. Beth, and I think that might be the last one because it's
Thank you, Abby.
after.
I'm with you 100% for sustainability and all the other things you said. I agree completely. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All
Okay,
right, Beth, I think you're gonna be the last.
No,
There's
go
one more
ahead.
last question.
Mhm.
Beth?
Yeah, for us, I'll just chime in. Our real concern as a village helping seniors was to relieve the social isolation that people had gone through, especially through COVID. But also, yeah, to get new volunteers, to get new people, new blood into the organization. And there is no resistance. There's great support for it. And it just helps. More is better. You cannot just depend on seniors volunteering.
Right.
You need younger people to be involved. It seems like a natural connection.
For volunteers, for a pipeline, all of those reasons, and
Yeah.
just the intergenerational energy that gets shared. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think we do have to wrap up here unless anyone else had something burning to say. Was somebody speaking up? Okay, well, again, thank you so much, Abby. I think that we have had an enormously exciting and energizing conversation. And I thank you, and I thank you to all who participated, because that's exactly what makes this so successful, is to hear your examples. So just a reminder that on April 3rd, we will have a program on sponsorship revenue for villages, presented by Bruce Rosenthal and Donna Mason of North Bethesda Village. And you can sign up on our website, go to our calendar and look for the April 3rd date, and you can sign up. Also on May 15th, we will have one of our longer plenary programs with speakers and then breakout sessions. And we don't have the program content all set for that, but we will have breakout sessions that may be oriented toward specific characteristics of villages, like all volunteer villages or newly developing villages, or something like that. We haven't decided yet, but again, put May 15th, 9:30 to 12 into your calendars as well. And we will be posting the video from this on our website. Wonderful Carolyn Warwick does this for us, and it all depends on what she has going on in her busy life. But in the next few days, you can certainly go to the archive of WAVE programs under the WAVE programs tab on our website to find the videos of this and other sessions that we've had. So thank you again. Hope to see you next month and again in May.
Thank you.
Thank you.